is Jesslyn, and this video is going to be over the metric system. So the metric system is pretty easy because you're either multiplying or dividing by the powers of 10 to convert. Over in Europe, they use this. Most other countries use the metric system. We use the customary system, like 12 inches equal a foot. If you need to know that, I have a video on that as well. But we're going to talk about the metric system. And I don't know, your teacher might have taught you a saying. I like the saying because it's always stuck with me when I learned this because it's funny looking. Kangaroos hopping down a mountain drinking chocolate milk. So kangaroos hopping down a mountain drinking chocolate milk. Sorry, I live by an airport, so it's going to be a little noisy. So kangaroos hopping down a mountain drinking chocolate milk. So I write kangaroos hopping down a mountain drinking chocolate milk. So that's how I do it. Kangaroos hopping down a mountain drinking chocolate milk. In the mountain is where the units are. In the metric system, just like the customary system, we measure weight, capacity, which is volume, and distance, which is length, okay? So that's where all of those go. In the metric system, when they measure distance, it's in meters. And so the root word meters will go under, sorry, it's kind of, let me rewrite that. Let me make the mountain a little bigger so I can write. So meters will go under the mountain, and that measures, because that's the root word for measuring distance. The root word for measuring weight is grams. Grams. So that's the root word for measuring weight. And then the root word for measuring capacity is liters. And you might know this word because we get Coca-Cola bottles and stuff like that in liters. But our milk and stuff is in gallons, so it's in the customary system. But this is the metric system. And so these are our root words. This measures distance, weight, and then capacity, volume. And then kangaroos hopping down a mountain drinking chocolate milk. The K stands for kilo. That's the prefix of a word. And I can put kilo with any of these words. Kilometers, kilograms, kiloliters. The H is hecto. We don't really see that word a lot. And so we don't really measure in that. But it's good to know. Hecto. The D, this D, is what you call deca. D-E-K-A. And that's the prefix for that. And then over here, the prefix for this D is deci. And you've probably seen that, like, well, that one's not as well used either. But then the prefix for this is centa. And you probably have heard of centimeters. And so this one's used a lot. And then this M over here is milla. And it goes from greatest, kilo is the greatest measurement, to the very smallest measurement of milla. Like a millimeter is like super duper 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 small. Okay, and again, these are all prefixes, and then right here are your root words, okay? You can add the prefix to any of those root words. And then what's funny is starting in the mountain, if we go this way, we're multiplying by 10 when we're moving to the right because we're going from bigger to smaller. You multiply. So each jump is a power of 10. So from here to here, if that was 2 jumps, that's 100 because 10 times 10 is 100. So you would be multiplying by 100. If you go backwards, you're dividing by powers of 10. So if you go from deci all the way to kilo, you're jumping 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. Well, 10 to the 4th power is a 1 with 4 zeros behind it, is 10,000. So really what you're doing when you're going from deci to kilo is you're just dividing that number by 10,000. Okay, so know that. So when you're moving to the right, you're multiplying by the power of 10. When you're moving to the left, you're dividing by the power of 10. Just depending on how many times you jump. So because some teachers or I mean, not some teachers, sorry, some people will just say, hey, just move the decimal. So move the decimal 2 times to the right. When you're moving the decimal 2 times to the right, you're actually multiplying by 100, okay? Because each decimal jump is a power of 10. And if you're going to the right, you're multiplying because you're making that number bigger from 3.58 to 358. So you would be multiplying. If you're going to the left, let's see here, 3.58, and let's say I jump twice, and so I add my placeholder of a 0. I'm really dividing by 100 because I'm making that number smaller, 3.58 and to 0.0358, and I'm dividing by 100 because I jumped twice, and 10 times 10 is 100. Okay, so a little background of really what we're doing when we're converting these. So let's just talk about, let me pick kilo, and then I'm going to say meters. I'm going to use that root word, kilometers. So I'm measuring distance since the root word is meters. And I want to go to just meters, just normal O meters with no prefix. So just normal O meters. And if you want to know, like a meter is kind of this is kind of like our yardstick, but it's not the exact same measurement. But a meter stick is, you know. So kilometers, if you go over to Europe, you know they measure not in miles, they measure in kilometers. Okay, so just think about that. And so kilometers is pretty big. So let's say I have 8, sorry, I forgot to put the measurement there. Let's say I have 8 kilometers and I want to go to meters. So my starting point is kilometers. So I'm starting right here where the prefix is kilo, and I'm going to meters, which is right here, okay? So my kangaroo, this is why we say kangaroo who's hopping down a mountain drinking chocolate milk. My kangaroo is hopping from kilo to meters, and he has to hop on each place, okay? So he's hopping 1, 2, 3, and he's hopping 3 to the right, because he's, yeah, 3 to the right. When I'm looking at it, 3 to the right. So he's hopping 3 to the right, and because it's how you are when you're looking at it, 3 to the right when you're looking at it. So what you do is you take 8, and where's the decimal on 8? On whole numbers, the decimal is at the end of the number. It's at the very end of the number. We don't ever write it there because that kind of looks funny when we're just talking about 8. We don't need 8 decimal, but it's understood to be there. And then, so if that's jumping 3 to the right, we're going to jump the decimal 3 to the right as well. And our decimal's going to end right here. Well, you're like, well, those are empty spots. And if you've ever watched any of my other videos, you know when we have empty spots, we use the placeholder of a 0. So we have a 0 and then that decimal. And so it's 8,000 because it becomes like that. And again, we don't need to write the decimal if it's at the end of the number. So we'll just leave it. So 8,000 meters. So 8 kilometers is 8,000 meters. Now, if you remember what we talked about earlier in the video, you know jumping 3 times to the right, because we're going from bigger to smaller, jumping 3 times to the right means that we're multiplying by 10 3 times. And 10 3 times is 1,000. And so you could check your answer. 8 times 1,000 is 8,000. So it does work. Okay, let's do another one. Let's say 40 milliliters. Now we're measuring capacity, volume, and we're going to go to hectoliters. Now you might not hear that all the time, but it's good to know to convert, okay? So we're going to go to hectoliters. So we go to our starting point, milliliters is right here, and our ending point is hecto, which is right here. And remember, we got it, our kangaroo has to jump all those places. So our starting point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's 5, and we went to the left, okay? So, because we're going from smaller to bigger, so we're going to get smaller numbers. So we went to the left 5 times. So we take our beginning number, 40, We say the decimal is right here because it's understood. It's at the end of the number if we can't see it. And we're going to jump 5 to the left with the decimal. 1, 2. It has to go in between each number. 3, 4, 5. And our new decimal is right here. Again, we have 3 empty spots, so we're going to hold them with place values of our placeholders of 0. And this is our new answer, 0.00040. So I can write that 0.0004. Now this, since we have our new number here and there's no decimal there anymore, remember this 0 is not really needed because I can add as many zeros as I want to and not change the value. So if the 0 is at the end of the number and there's no other digits behind that, then you can drop all the zeros, as long as there's no other digits. If it's like this, then I wouldn't be able to drop these zeros because there's a 1 there, okay? But since there's no other digits behind it, I can drop that 0 and do 0.0004. And so that would be 4 tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths, 4 10,000ths hectoliters. And that is how you convert the metric system.